Welcome to Direction Northeast. Hello, I'm Katie Jones. This program is a presentation of the Communications Department of Northeast State Community College. This episode of Direction Northeast, we'll talk with one of the legends of bluegrass music and find out about the business behind the songs. We'll meet our guests and start our discussion following these messages.
My name is Ann Ravel. I'm an actress, and I got my start at Northeast State Community College. Just as acting truly allows me to express myself and learn new things about myself, my whole experience at Northeast State has allowed me to do that. I've found new interests, new hobbies, new passions that I would have never known had I not come here. Northeast State gave me a quality education, amazing friendships, but most importantly, it allowed me to discover who I want to be.
With nearly 40 albums to their credit, Doyle Lawson and his band Quicksilver have multiple Grammy, Dove, Country, and Bluegrass Association Award nominations and are 7-time winners of International Bluegrass Music Association Vocal Group of the Year. He was honored in February 2012 by the Governor of the State of Tennessee for his contributions to the state and America through his music. Doyle Lawson, welcome to Direction Northeast.
It's good to be here. How are you?
I'm doing well. The first question I have for you is, with so many honors and accolades, what is it like to be you?
well, that's the only person I know who is me, so I guess it's pretty good, you know. I don't feel any different than anybody else. I really don't. I'll tell you a funny story regarding that. My grandson is 6 years old, and I picked him up at school, and he's all boy, and prone to get into a little trouble. Not anything bad. He likes to talk, you know. Very smart. So I told him that if he would be have green card all day for a week, I'd give him $5. For a month, it'd be $20. And so his eyes lit up, and he said, well, how can you afford to give me money like that, Granddaddy? Oh, he said, I know. You're famous. So I said, well, I'll work. But I don't know. You know, we're all destined to do whatever we do in this life, and my occupation brings about more of awareness to the individual than others who may be doing something that has just as much impact or significance on the world and the people. I was just chosen to do this.
Journalist Craig Havighurst called you one of music's lions. So what do you suppose he meant by that?
Well, there's leaders and there's followers, and I, in a half-joking way, say, well, you know, I've always wanted to be the one that says, stand over there, fellas, rather than be the one to say, where do you want me to stand? And some people are prone to be leaders, and some are not. And, not to say that the followers are just not as important. They are as important. But I guess it's people with vision. You know, the IBMA organization was formed about I guess probably 27, 28 years ago. I was a core member of that. 23 or 24 of us met in Nashville to try to put an organization together to promote and preserve our music at the same time, but yet promote it to a broader acceptance and a broader awareness. And I helped construct the first set of the bylaws for the organization, and served on the first board of directors, a temporary board, and then 2 terms after that. We started a trust fund for our music and for our entertainers who, by some ill misfortune, encounter hard times through health or fire or something, that we try to help them out as much as we can. That was very important to me and some others, and I have been on that on that committee since the inception. I chair that committee. Not only that, I think it's trying to find ways that to promote your music, promote the music as a whole, not just yourself. And anything I've done, I've approached it from a not anything that would be self-serving. I look at what we do in terms of trying to broaden the horizons of our music, not as an artist solely, but as the music as a whole. Because, you know, I've had a long career and looking forward to many more years. But at the same time, I know there'll come a time that I need to step aside. We want young people coming along that can pick up the torch and carry the music on. And so, I don't know, I've never thought too much about what I was doing as far as anything that I thought would be, look at me, you know, look what I've done. That's not important. What I want to see is the music continue to thrive and grow as it has in the last 25 years especially.
Right. You spoke a little bit about the preservation of bluegrass music. Do you feel that it is increasing in popularity, that the younger crowd is starting to get more interested into it?
It is increasing in popularity, and more young people are getting into it. However, I will tell you that I would like to see even more younger folks get into it. And having said that, when you talk about preserving our music, we have different genres of music. We have what we call country music. We have gospel music, pop, Dixieland, big band, rock, acid rock, hard rock, metal, hip hop, whatever. And there's a reason that they make a difference in the music and the titles. It's because it's something different. So I think if you want to be innovative and explorative, you can do that. But you need to do it within the boundaries of the music, because once it's taken past a certain point, it becomes something else and not that. And so if you allow that to happen in any of the music, eventually you just throw it all into one bucket and say, pick something, you know. But there's a reason they call it bluegrass, and that was because primarily in the early days, even country music was acoustic. Then they amplified and took a little different turn. And bluegrass, for the most part, stayed acoustic, with the exception of a bass. And then people have, you know, even the pioneers, Monroe, Bill Monroe, the father of bluegrass music, he experimented. He had electric guitars, he had an accordion, and on some of his early records in the 50s, they were all trying to survive Elvis, so they had drums on the records, you know. And people tend to forget sometimes. They get too caught up on what the music is and what it should be, and you can't do this, you can't do that. They tend to forget that the bottom line is all these artists were playing music for two reasons. One, they loved the music. Two, that was their livelihood. And in order to survive, they tried to modify within a degree and within moderation to appeal to a broader audience. And I knew most of the pioneers. I'm one foot in the first, second generation myself, you know. I came in at a time when it was before the bluegrass festivals ever were and all that, you know. But they were not as strict about things as some people would like to believe. What they were trying to do was sell records and work dates, make a living. That's what they were trying to do. And obviously they love the music, that's why they do it. We all love the music, I do. But at the same time, I've got responsibilities that I have to take care of. I've got guys on the payroll, and people in the office, and PR people, and all the whole, well, you've got to figure out how to pay them. And so, but you can do all that and still be within the boundaries of tradition of the music that was laid down. But as far back as the music goes, they were always experimenting with it a little bit.
You mentioned festivals in there just a little bit. You have your own festival in Denton, North Carolina.
I do.
And do you think that that helps you to connect to your fans, or do you think that festivals are at the heart of bluegrass music?
Well, festivals are, a lot of people really probably raise their eyebrows when I say what I do, but I say it with the best intentions and what I perceive. Bluegrass festivals came along at a time when the bluegrass artists, really needed it, and they were, and still are, a vital source of income. And so in that respect, that's the best thing that ever happened to us, was the festival circuit that sprang up in 1965. It started with just one, and then in 1967, Bill Monroe had a park over in Bean Blossom, Indiana, and he started one. And a couple of years later or so, Ralph Stanley over here in McClure, Virginia, and then they got west of the Mississippi, and so it was and still is a very good thing. Now, on the negative side, it could very well have been not a good thing, because it tended to isolate us as the music more than ever, because we're kind of a branch of country music, largely ignored for a long, long time. And I know when we were forming the IBMA, we invited at that time the president of the Country Music Association, CMA, to come and speak, and their comment was, well, we've always considered bluegrass a branch of country music, but the evidence shows that they may have, but there was not much effort made into promoting it like we thought it should be. So it's a two-edged sword. On one side, it was and still is a very, very important thing. On the other, it might have done more to even isolate us more, but we've overcome that. So it's all evened out, I think, and we have and still are working very, very hard to bring a national, international awareness of the music. And I've toured many times overseas in Europe and the Northeast, the North Africa, the Near East, Middle East, South America, wherever, and I've taken this music to a lot of places. 49 foreign countries so far.
Wow. Okay, changing gears just a little bit. You're a well-honored musician, but you're also the leader of your band and the owner of a record company. How much pressure does that put on you all at once?
Well, first of all, I like to work. But sometimes, my record company, it's a label. It's not a company. And it's one that I've figured out that I entered into an agreement with the Crossroads Marketing Group over in just out of Asheville, North Carolina, over near the airport, Arden. And so we have an agreement that my label logo appears on my records as well. So that allows me I don't have the time, and I really don't, I don't have the desire to really sign artists, and if I do that, then that's a whole new, I just don't have the time. If you do that, then you're going to have to staff it with personnel. And today's music world is vastly different than it was when I started. With the internets, the ability to download the music from the internet, the iTunes, and you listen to music on Pandora, whoever, Spotify, the list goes on and on and on. So to be honest with you, for record companies, it's much harder than it was. It's actually put a lot of pressure. I often say, we got well versed in technology to the point that they have almost put themselves out of business because they've made it too easy for the consumer to have access to it in a lot of ways. That's good and that's bad, but because you don't see all that many record stores or CD stores like you used to. You had the record bar and disc jockey records, and the list went on, bordered books, and all these people that would have all these. But now, pretty much mail order places like County Sales or Ernest Tubb Record Shop, you can find a few of them in Walmart, but it's nothing like it used to be, all because of the technology we have. So a record company really has to scramble to find ways to market their music with profit. It's a little tougher.
You spoke a little bit about the technology, and the technology has changed how music is delivered to us. Has it changed the process of getting the music there?
In terms of getting the music, what
getting
do
the
you mean
music out and onto the record?
Well, it's easier. Well, the studios are far superior than you wouldn't believe the first studios we had to use back in those days, and we had a 4-track studio. If we were lucky, we did it live. No, we didn't do tracks. We didn't do overdubs. We had no way to do it. So if you did something that you just could not live with, which most of the time the record companies, oh, it's okay, they won't hear it, whatever. But I'd say, well, they may not hear it, but I hear it, So I would keep on until they would let it. We would do either a whole takeover or when we finally got the ability to use tape, we could do an edit. The section we didn't like, we would do that, and then we would splice it and marry it up to the rest of it. It's much easier now with well, when tape came along, then we had 8-track. Went to 8 tracks. Boy, we thought we were flying 8 tracks. But before that, when we got through with the recording, we didn't go back to mix it or whatever. We were done with it. That's it. You couldn't do anything else with it. So then we had 8-track, and finally 16-track, 24. Well, that allowed us the luxury of being able to overdub or do tracks. And for the most part, until I put my band together, we would always do it live. I seldom did any overdub. They didn't like to do it. They were, we'd always done it the other way, and you tend to work harder and be more aware, because sometimes if you have the luxury of being a little lazy, you will be. And so I think, as far as I can speak, today with the digital recording, Pro Tools and all, I mean it's easy compared to the other. It's so much easier. We can do things that the quality is better, the overall recording is better. And we have so much stuff to work with today we didn't have before.
Going back to something that you said a little earlier about straying from the traditional, how do you feel about the new emerging newgrass music?
Well, I think, and I'm very open-minded with music, but I think we have to, again, I think I covered that. You have to be really careful about what you perceive as it. I think I have seen some of the music that they're calling bluegrass. It's not actually. It would probably predate bluegrass as we know it. The approach is more like the earlier country music or mountain music or old time. They call it old time, whatever, which I like. But I think there's a distinct difference in the two, and so no offense, but I'll pick somebody that people are aware of, not meaning not to discredit them, but just to. I don't think I would consider the Old Crow Medicine Show bluegrass. That's not to say they're not them. They're doing great. That's not to say they're not a good band, but would I consider it? No, I don't think so. It's different. I think it predated kind of what bluegrass is.
All right, we're going to go to a video, and so here is Gone at Last. It's a live performance by Doyle Lawson.
Rolling sightseeing, so was falling, drifts were high. I was weary from my driving, so I stopped to rest for a while. I sat down at a truck stop. I was thinking about my past. I've had a long streak of bad luck, but I pray it's gone and last. Gone and last. Gone and last. Gone and last. It's gone and last. I've had a long streak of bad luck, but I pray it's gone and last. I ain't dumb, I kicked around some, I don't fall too easily. But that girl was so enchanted, she just grabbed my sympathy. Sweet little soul, now what's your problem? Tell me why you're so downcast. I've had a long streak of bad luck, but I pray it's gone and last. Gone and last. Gone and last. Gone and last. It's gone and last. I've had a long streak of bad luck, but I pray it's gone and last. Once in a while, from out of nowhere, the dawn is making her fair. Somebody will come and lift you higher, and your burdens will be shared. I do believe, and to mention you, I would still be sinking fast. I've had a long streak of bad luck, but I pray it's gone and last. Gone and last. Gone and last. Gone and last. It's gone and last. I've had a long streak of bad luck, but I pray it's gone and last. Gone, 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 gone. It's gone and last. I've had a long streak of bad luck, but I pray it's gone and last. I've had a long streak of bad luck, but I pray it's gone and last.
Well known for songs. You're also well known for writing songs. Would you walk us through your songwriting process?
Well, I have never really considered myself a bona fide songwriter. I write probably much better if I'm co-writing. I do a few things by myself, but it's like if a song comes to me, it's like within probably 15 minutes to a half hour, I've pretty well got it finished. I'm not like a writer who can sit down, go in write from 8 to 4 or 10 to 3 or whatever every day, and there are people that can do that. I'm not that kind of writer. Mine comes from just I guess an impulsive inspiration or whatever. But the co-writing is different because if I co-write with somebody, we're kind of trading ideas, or I'm more or less feeding off of them. And you know, some writers have great ideas, but the wheels will kind of run off midway through the song, or they'll. If you start with a theme of a story, and if you get to the bridge or the last verse and you're totally someplace else, I think you've lost the direction of the song. And that's something I pay close attention to. And so in that respect, I'm I guess a pretty fair co-writer. But I've never really thought that I'd never call myself a really songwriter like Carl Jackson or Jerry Salley or people like that. You know.
Right. Harmony is such an integral part of your music. So when did you learn harmony, and how important is it to your show?
Well, I'll answer the last part first. Vocals. I heard one of the greatest guitar players of all time, Chet Atkins, made a remark one time that they were talking about his career. And he said, yeah, I've been fortunate. He said, you know, I would have much rather been a vocalist. It's because you don't get many #1 records playing guitar. And that's, the vocals tell the story in the fullest, because not only is it melodic, but it's verbal, and you're telling a story. You're telling a story of a melody. I grew up, my dad and mom sang early on, and they sang gospel music, and it evolved into an a cappella quartet. So I was always around vocals, always around harmonies. I can't remember a time that I really didn't understand. I mean, I was around it, but I knew I could hear all that stuff, even when a little fella. And so breaking down the parts for me was never, ever a problem. It just came natural. I can't read music, but it just comes, it's just easy for me. I guess because I listened to Dad and the quartet he sang with, and I know many times if they were practicing, most of them had smaller kids like we were, you know, but they'd be outside playing. I'd sit right at their feet and just listen to them.
All right, well, thank you. Thank you. We'll be back in just a moment to wrap up Direction Northeast.
My name is Amanda Broom. I'm a mass communications graduate. I work behind and in front of the camera, and I got my start at Northeast State.
My name is Brad Ketcherin. I'm a registered nurse, and I got my start at Northeast State.
My name is Ann Rowell. I'm an actress, and I got my start at Northeast State Community College.
Get your start at Northeast State. Visit northeaststate.edu to register for classes. No matter where you're going, Northeast State is here to get you there.
That concludes the program for today. We talked about bluegrass music and listened to the music of Doyle Lawson and Quicksilver. Community is very important to the students at Northeast State Community College, and this program takes a look at a few of the subjects they find important. Until we meet next time, on behalf of students, staff, and faculty at Northeast State Community College, I'm Katie Jones, and this is Direction Northeast.